Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll, Jay, and RJ. Of course, I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ.
Hey, guys, we really appreciate you guys sticking with us. Particularly last week, we got a little bit of feedback that our last episode was a little bit too sports intensive. So this time, we're going to mix it up. Before we get into today's show, we want to remind you to please give us a like, hit the subscribe button, and also ding the notification bell so that anytime we drop a new episode, you'll be notified. You can also check us out in our audio format on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, and iHeartRadio. Hey, Jay, any update on those other two formats you were looking into?
I still haven't gotten a response back from them yet. It's still a work in progress. So with some of these guys, it's sometimes up to a month. Like when we joined iHeartRadio, it took me a month to get an okay from them that we were going to be on there. So it's still something I'm working on, actively pursuing. Like I said, I'm just trying to get us out there, trying to get our name out there, try to get us in as many formats as we can. But still working. And
guys, don't forget to give us some love on Instagram, Reddit, and
Facebook.
Obviously, this YouTube panel. What?
Facebook.
And Facebook. Yes.
Oh, so and guys, go vote for us on the podcast magazine website as a top 50 podcast. That's
we'll have to drop a link. We'll have to drop a link in the description and a link in the Facebook page for that.
Yeah,
so you guys can go vote for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, guys, got another week in the books. How's everybody doing?
Well, I think we're all doing as best we can. With the way Dallas is trending down in the sports world right now.
Yeah, over here, you can see right here.
We're excited that the World Series is happening in our backyard, but sucks that the Rangers aren't in it. We'll save the Cowboys for another few minutes or so. I don't want to bust my brother's blood vessels over there in his brain.
No, I'm kind of over it, man. I mean, that you can see I'm already poking fun at the fact that you can see right. Well, hold on, crap. Yeah. This backwards thing right here. Alice Cowboys fan, right? Yeah, because there's no D in Dallas.
That's what I was going to say. Is I think everything that we're kind of going to say about the Cowboys we've kind of already said to some extent. Right. I don't think there's much new to say about them, other than the fact that Andy Dalton's first game.
Well, there's a little bit of turmoil going on in the locker room.
Yeah, the Cowboys need to get a priest out there to read Andy his first rites in this next game because he ain't got nobody blocking for him up front, buddy, and they're gonna eat his lunch.
Oh yeah, because Zach Martin's gonna be out this week, right?
Did y'all hear about Zeke's condition?
Damn.
No.
He's bulimic. Yeah, because every time they feed him, he coughs it up. My bad.
I just want to go ahead and apologize if we have any listeners who follow or who suffer from an eating disorder. I want to go ahead and distance distance myself from that statement.
It was a tasteless joke. I'm sorry.
Cancel culture is going to be coming for him.
Yeah.
So last week his objective was to try to end up doing episodes from a jail cell. This week, I guess he just wants to be removed from the podcast altogether.
Whoa. Wait a minute now. Well, hey, I guess you have to green screen somebody else in. Anyway, no. Before we get in, as we get into today's show, I think our fans are looking forward to another episode in Jay's adventure in house hunting. How goes it, bro?
I'll tell you what, this is probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. And, 2 years ago, my wife and I got married, and I thought planning a wedding was rough. Mm-hmm. With all the things that we had, finding a venue, vendors, making sure that, we planned it in a time when we were going to try to have good weather because we were going to have an outdoor ceremony. Mm-hmm. and then having a backup plan in case we didn't get to have our ceremony, because we got married in October. And unfortunately in Texas, you never know how the weather is going to be this time of year. You don't know when that first cold front's going to move in. You don't know if it's still going to be 90 degrees at the end of October. You don't know whether it's going to rain. I mean, Texas weather is just so unpredictable.
Right.
And, just worrying about getting invitations out and, just all the little things that go along with planning a wedding. I thought that was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. This is ridiculous, man. The problem is, and our realtor told us this. I've talked to, of course, my two real estate experts over here, and countless other friends that are involved in real estate. The market's just so hot right now that it is damn near impossible to predict what would dignify a good offer on a house. Because there's been a couple of houses that we've bid on, that we bid over asking price, thinking, okay, we got a good shot at this one, only to be, disappointed that either somebody bid more than us. And I'm thinking, I know how much more we bid over asking price than this. And you're telling me somebody outbid us on that. That sucks. And then, the fact that the type of, mortgage financing that we're going with, I can't compete with the cash offer. I just can't. Yeah. I don't have $300,000 in cash laying in my bank account over there to, go put down on a house. I'm having to go with a mortgage, and, regardless of the fact that I can put down a payment, pay the closing cost, I'm not haggling over that. It's just the fact that when somebody's walking up and paying, making a $275,000 cash offer on a home, there's no way for me to compete with that. And we're getting so many people to just move in from out of state. We've got so many California people invading Texas now that are buying houses sight unseen, man. They're just buying based on internet pictures.
Well, and you're also dealing with the people that are relocating out of the dense urban pockets. Right before COVID hit, everybody was trying to get back into the dense urban pocket. Everybody wanted to be close to everything. Millennials were happy not to own a car because they felt that the cost of insurance and the cost of car ownership they could forego that and use that money to afford housing, use it towards their housing costs because everything was walkable. The proliferation of Uber, Lyft, and Dallas making, I think, a concerted effort to upgrade public transportation to some degree. So, a lot of people were moving in town. But as COVID hit, and all of a sudden, I think people say, well, we don't want to necessarily be in close quarters and maybe end up a victim of the pandemic because we're living in a communal type environment. They're all of a sudden, a lot of them are moving back out to the suburbs or even close in, but they're going into neighborhoods, right?
Well, that and the fact that a lot of people are still working from home. So, they're tired of staying inside those 1-bedroom apartments and they're looking for something bigger that has a home office. And when you think about the fact that the way mortgage rates are right now, what they're paying for in an urban apartment in, say, uptown, downtown, or even around the Dallas area. I mean, hell, we looked at apartments too, and for a 2-bedroom apartment, you're talking about $1,700 in rent. And why go that when you can go get you a house, a $250,000, $270,000 home with a $1,600 mortgage, where you have building equity, you have land, you have more space. It's just there's no comparison to it. So, we picked a real bad time to jump into the home market, but
it's definitely it's a really strong seller's market right now, unfortunately, and you're kind of caught up. I was talking to a friend of mine that does mainly residential, and I was explaining to him some of your frustration, and he was telling me that in a lot of the transactions he's seen, that if a house is at the price point of $400,000 or less, then those homes are almost all of them are getting multiple offers. A number of them, if they're in really good areas and the houses are in good condition,
Yeah.
are getting multiple offers over asking. And so sellers have the flexibility to pick and choose which offers they want to go to. And that's why you are getting outdone by cash offers or even conventional lending offers, because there's less hurdles to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, what sucks is the fact that, a seller can change their mind at any point. I mean, we saw a house online in Duncanville, and it had come out overnight. You're talking about 9, 10 o'clock at night. We got, because we're on several apps that give us alerts when new houses come out. Topo Chico. And this house came out 9 o'clock at night on a Thursday, I believe. And I called my realtor. I said, hey, we really want to shop this house. It looks like everything we're looking for. It had a nice yard, updates on the inside. And the one thing I'm looking for, no carpet.
Right.
And so, he called on Friday morning and set up a time for us to view it Saturday at 3:30 in the afternoon, when we both, my wife and I had time to actually go see it. And by Friday night, he was calling us and said, hey, I just got a call from the seller's
realtor.
Yeah, realtor, that they want offers in by noon tomorrow. So this is Friday night, and we have an appointment at 3:30 to go see the house on Saturday, and now they're telling us we have to have offers in by noon on Saturday. But I'm again not going to place an offer on a house I haven't seen.
Right.
I can't do it, and my realtor is like, look, I'm advising you not to go in, make a blind offer, because you don't know what you're going to get yourself into. And so we, unfortunately we were both, my wife and I were both kind of upset at that they changed their mind that quickly. But, apparently that Friday they were booked solid with showings and had, I think, more than 10 offers by Friday night. And so just to give everybody a shot, they're like, we want offers in by noon on Saturday. And so we never got a chance to see the house, and it just kind of got swept up from underneath us. And I'm like, that really, really chapped my hide, but it's the seller's house. They can do with it what they want.
Right.
And it's not like this is a stipulation that, hey, you have to show it to X amount of people, or you have to have it on the market for X amount of days. If you're getting 10 to 15 offers within the first day, and I guarantee you I would say probably 80% of them were probably over asking, and by a significant amount. And why the hell wouldn't you say yes?
No, of course. Yeah. I mean, and unfortunately, as you and I talked about, when you came over and we kind of drove the neighborhood, I was showing you some of the, what I thought would be nice areas for you to focus, is that I think a lot of it too is in the market that you're looking at, which you've identified as the golden triangle of,
Duncanville, Grand Prairie, and Dallas.
Right. Is that a lot of the people buying houses in my neighborhood and in kind of the immediate area around me are people that have been displaced out of the Bishop Arts area and kind of the growth that's been going on around Bishop Arts in Oak Cliff.
Yeah.
And kind of the central eastern part of Oak Cliff, where all these new apartments are just popping up everywhere.
All over the place, man.
And so a lot of those homeowners that were living in those neighborhoods for a really long time, I mean, they're getting tremendous amounts of money for their houses. Yeah. And so when you got all these multifamily developers coming in, scooping up as many of these houses as they can, because they want to do a either townhome or apartment complex, and some sort of mixed use type project, and now they're walking around with $300,000 or $400,000 in their pockets, because That's what some of the values are going for over there.
Yeah.
Well, that's also who you're competing against, because they're walking out of that. They still want to live relatively close, like you do.
Yeah.
And so they're coming and scooping up. When we bought our house in this area, there weren't very many houses for sale at all, which is why, as I explained, part of the reason that our house didn't appraise for what the asking price was. The appraiser had to kind of go outside of our neighborhood to find comps, because nothing was trading over here, nothing was for sale.
Yeah.
And in the 7+ years that we've been living here, we've seen a lot of change in the neighborhood. And we feel like a lot of the people that are moving in here are coming from that, kind of the Oak Cliff area.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I told my wife when we're out driving around looking at neighborhoods and properties, we'll go look at a house and then we'll drive around that area, is I said, the one thing that you notice out here in this neighborhood or that neighborhood, which we deem a good neighborhood that we want to live in, is that there's a lack of for sale signs, because these people aren't going anywhere. They're happy where they're at.
Right.
Obviously that they're happy with the area they're living in. They're happy with, the surroundings around, restaurant. I guess their relation to where restaurants are, where shopping is, where groceries are, that, the things that we're looking for, they already have. So they're like, why are we going anywhere? So it's been a little bit frustrating, but like I told her, I said, we're not in a rush. We're not,
right.
It's not like we're being forced out of our home or anything like that. It's just a choice that we made.
Yeah,
so
and that's the good thing is, you do have time on your side to some degree. So, I mean, you don't want to make a bad decision and you don't want to feel pressured into doing something. Well, that's the update on Jay's house hunt.
Jay's housing hunt.
Oh, God.
Another topic that I wanted to talk about,
dude,
guys, is the election. We're just a couple weeks away.
2 weeks away.
Yeah. So, have either of you voted yet?
No, I traditionally vote on election day. I don't know. I never was, I guess, that big into early voting, and I guess that right now everybody's. I mean, you're seeing again, like we said last week, record numbers. People turn out for early voting. So I'm hoping to weed out all the zanies and crazies that are real adamant voters right now, and just get to the regular people by the time November rolls around.
Well, you may want to think about that, bro. You may want to try and get in before, because I have a feeling that there are going to be a significant amount of people that feel the same way you do.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm
on actual election day. It's going to be a long wait to get in there.
So I'm thinking, we try to find that sweet spot when most of the people that are rushing out to early vote get in there. And I think there's that sweet spot of, the week of October 30th, because early voting ends on October 30th. So I'm thinking maybe, 26th through the 30th might be a good time for us to head down and vote. But yeah, I mean, there's been times I'm driving around or I'm seeing on the news and you're seeing lines of people and you're like, God, damn. It's one of the most important elections of our lifetime. And, it is what it is. And there has to be some type of change in leadership, in the way the country is functioning right now, because the country is dysfunctional at the moment. Yeah. And I think a lot of people would agree. And I think a lot of people are tired, I know a lot of people that I talk to, and I don't talk politics with many people just because, we've had this discussion in the past that, people aren't going to necessarily believe what you believe, and they have their beliefs, and I'm not going to try to change their mind. They're not going to change my mind. I know what my beliefs are. I'm strong in my beliefs. So, there's no point arguing with people about it. So I just don't do it. Talk to them about it.
No, I agree with you. Unfortunately, in today's society, people can quit being friends just because of
Yeah.
different political
Mm,
ideologies, which
yeah.
is unfortunate because you would hope that you could continue to be friends with somebody, even if you don't necessarily see eye to eye on fiscal policy, on government, on some of the values that we share. I mean, that's what's supposed to make us um, a good society is that we have differing opinions and stuff. But it just seems like, especially with the proliferation of social media, that we've just become more divided and more polarized. And you only kind of associate with the people that have a like mindedness, which is
And
unfortunate.
well, I haven't voted either. Probably by the time this episode airs, I will have voted. Knock on wood. That's my hope and my goal is that before the end of this week is done, that I'll have voted. But I think a big part of that is just how what you were saying, how polarized we become. I mean, I do think the fact that some people can't, I guess, understand why people have differing views is a part of it, but I think it's because there's a big segment of people now that it's the way you go about expressing your opinions, like um, and that goes for both sides. I take you two for example. I don't think there would really be anybody who would unfriend you guys on Facebook because you're not brash about your opinions. You're not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at Trump rallies trying to intimidate people or trying to
Yeah.
cancel people. So
Right.
I think that's a bigger factor. Is just the way people handle their beliefs. I think
Yeah. I mean,
there are still people who can have differing views and I mean be friends. I just saw over the weekend two older gentlemen of different races that one was a Trump supporter and one's a Biden supporter and they're best friends and hasn't really caused any issues between them.
yeah. So there's a really good scene in. Have you guys ever seen the show The Newsroom with Jeff
No.
Daniels?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay, you
yeah.
guys treat yourself. Watch that show. Watch a couple of episodes of it. It's really good.
Okay.
But the very opening scene of the first movie or the first episode is probably one of the best scenes out there on TV, where Jeff Daniels' character goes into a long rant about why America's not the greatest country in the world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the lines that he throws out there is that we we didn't used to identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we need to get back to that because I think too many people identify themselves with who they voted for in the last election. You know, it's okay to say you're going to be a Trump supporter, or it's okay for you to say you're going to be a Biden supporter, but because you say you're a Trump supporter doesn't mean you're Trump, and because
Mm-hmm.
you're a Biden supporter doesn't mean you're Biden. You
Mm-hmm.
just support them, you support their views, but I am who I am. I'm not Donald Trump's, stooge. I'm not his lackey. I'm not. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't mean anything to me, but he is the head of the party that I voted for.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
and to expand upon what you said, he is the president of the United States, and
yeah,
I think part of what we've lost in this country is national pride and reverence for um, certain you know positions. Um, a lot of people feel like he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve their respect, and I get that. But even though Obama was president, and I didn't vote for him, and I didn't necessarily agree with a lot of his policies, I still respected the man,
yeah,
and more importantly, I respected the office because in this country we enjoy so much freedom that we have the right to criticize and complain, and the government's not going to come shoot you. We have the ability to express our displeasure. We have the ability to vote, not even just in elections, but also vote with your dollars, right? Just how you spend. You have so much freedom in this country, but we've seemed to have lost the fact that, you know, whether you believe someone's intentions are 100% honorable or not, it's still a very stressful job to be president of the United
I
States.
wouldn't want to do it.
That's right. I mean, whether you believe Trump is makes a lot of his decisions for selfish reasons or not, he still has to deal with certain things that a lot of us would probably cave under that pressure, or have no intention of trying to put ourselves in that position. So I feel like, maybe RJ can give his point of view on this, but I feel like we've lost that reverence for, we talk displeasure about lifelong politicians, and I do feel that politicians in general are kind of out of touch with the day-to-day middle class America. I do sincerely believe that, but we should not diminish the fact that some of these people, I think, no, I feel that a lot of these people do get into politics to some degree to help, right? It's just, unfortunately, I think the system doesn't really. I mean, you got to learn how to play ball, because if you don't learn how to play ball, you don't stay in office, right? And that's just the truth. I mean, tell me what you think, RJ. I mean, because you're younger, you have a different kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I hear what you guys are saying, but one thing I would say is that at some point, like, you have to take ownership of who you are voting for. Like, yes, what Uncle JJ said is true. Just because you're voting for someone doesn't mean you align with all of their views. It's just they might have more views that you align with than the other candidate, and that is okay. I mean, you're never really gonna get a perfect candidate. That's the thing about politics. We're all gonna have things we disagree on, but I think just to play devil's advocate a bit is, and let me clarify. I'm not trying to necessarily say that this is what Trump is, but at what point do you have to take ownership? And if someone like Hitler presented themselves today and you voted for him just because he had views that align with yours, but he was also doing very evil things, I think at some point you have to take ownership of the fact that, okay, yes, this might benefit me in this, and this ways, but he's also an evil person. You have to take ownership, and not only just that, you're going to have to vote against your interests, because I mean, I don't want to get into religion, but I'm a Catholic. I'm not going to sit here and say I go to church every Sunday, but I'm not the person that believes you need to be in church every Sunday, because there are plenty of people who go to church every Sunday and, commit worse things in this world than I've ever dreamed of.
What's funny that you mentioned that, just not to sidetrack you on what you're saying, hold your thought. Yeah. But I remember working in the restaurant industry. One of the biggest things that used to crack me up was on Sunday, when you see all these people coming in their church clothes, and they had just gone to mass or whatever they call it, in different churches, all coming in their Sunday best, just having gone to praise God, seeing them get into fist fights over table space in a restaurant right afterwards, Yeah. That was always one of the things that cracked me up. I was like, dude, you're in here in your $200 suit. Your wife's in here in her Chanel dress, and your kids are all in here looking like little Stepford children, and y'all are fighting over a damn chair.
Exactly, and like I said, not to get too religious on it, is just that I think, okay, yeah, let's just take someone who would benefit money wise under him. You have to remember that Jesus was poor. Jesus walked among the poor. We're supposed to act like him, not treat these people like they're lesser than us, and we're putting kids in cages, things like that. We have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus wasn't for that, so that's my thing. But the other thing I would say is that I do agree with, he is our president, and you got to respect that to some extent. But I would also say that disrespect for the office kind of started when Obama became president. Because look, I mean, he wasn't born here. We need to see his birth certificate. All that stuff. All those people who said we're going to leave because he's president.
Let's tap the brakes on that. That started out way before Obama, dude. Presidents have always been the point of ridicule for. I mean, just like what people used to say about Bush. They used to say he was, dumb. You've seen skits on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
You've seen skits and people out there saying he was Dick Cheney's puppet. That he was just he was dumber than a box of rocks, and we all know that's not true. President Bush was a very intelligent man. You don't get to be president of the United States if you don't have some kind of intelligence.
Right.
Look, Donald Trump may be evil, but he's a smart kind of evil. He did something right to get himself in that position to be there. And this was what RJ's saying, and I agree with him 100%, is the reason why we had this whole discussion, what it was 2 weeks ago, that I can't bring myself to vote for him. But by the same token, I cannot bring myself to vote for Biden either. Mm-hmm. Because the Democratic belief is not something, their policies, their mandates are not anything that I can bring myself to believe in. But I cannot bring myself to support a man like Donald Trump. And the way he treats, he's misogynistic. He's, in my mind, he's racist. There's a million things about him not to like. And RJ, you mentioned, what if Hitler had presented himself today? Would we vote for him just because he was the leader of our party? Yeah. And I can honestly say, no, I wouldn't. Just like I can honestly say, I don't plan to vote for Donald Trump. Right. And I know y'all guys' view on not voting for Trump or not voting for Biden to get,
Yeah.
But again, my beliefs.
No, I got you, bro. But I think, to RJ's point, maybe JJ's not going to vote for Hitler, but how many people would vote for Hitler?
That's I wasn't necessarily, and that's what I was going to say, is I wasn't necessarily posing that question for you two, because I know where you two lie, and it's those people who, like I said, we're in church every Sunday, but we're okay with him putting kids in cages and Mexican labor. And I just find it, think about the fact that our family came from Mexico, and had those rules been in place when our family came, they could have been saying this about our ancestors. So, I do.
And I think the bigger thing too is that the enforcement of immigration is not equal across all the races, because it's easier to question somebody who's got this color skin versus somebody who is fair complected, has light brown, green, blue eyes, light brown, yellow hair, that isn't from this country either. Right? But people don't get stopped and pulled over and harassed if you look like the ideal European citizen that's living here. It's, the guys
Spanish or
free, dark hair, dark skin. Those are the ones that get questioned. And right or wrongly, sometimes, and we used to joke around about it, Jay. You remember, you guys might remember a movie that came out that starred Cheech Marine called Born in East LA. Born in East LA, right? And so, he was, he was.
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Yeah, you got to check it out. But
I'll check it out.
Cheech basically plays. He's a cholo, but he was born here. He's an American, right? But he gets kind of caught in this roundup of other Latinos, Mexicans. Let's just say Mexicans. That's what they are, right? And the immigration officers, they he just, for whatever reason, I forget part of the plot line, but he doesn't have his identification on, right? And they're asking him for his papers, and he's like, "What papers? I don't have papers. I'm from here." So they ask him a question, who is the president of the United States? Well, he's not up into his current events, right? So,
the guy from Dead Valley days.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, what's so funny about that is that he mistakenly gets deported. In that whole movie, the storyline about that movie is an American born in this country, but a brown skin, that hangs around in neighborhoods that are primarily Hispanic, where they talk a lot more Spanish than they do English, gets deported, how hard it is for him to get back into his own country.
Yeah.
Because no one really wants to give him 5 minutes of consideration and follow up on any of his story. They just see brown skin. And they say, "Oh, you're Mexican. You'll say anything to get in this country."
Yeah.
And that to me is where we do fail, right? I had a debate one time with a very good one of my former business partners. We talked about the immigration topic, and as conservative as I am, that's one of the areas where I feel like we have more important things to worry about with getting our country straightened out than people who are willing to risk their life and limb to come to this country for an opportunity. Now, yes, there are criminals that come into this country. Yes. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you can't just open I get it. I totally do. But I will also say there are plenty of people born in this country that have no ambition, have no desire to work, contribute nothing, and they're more than happy to collect some sort of government subsidy or welfare. So you tell me.
You talk about that because you know what's funny is I read a story on MSN News yesterday about how so many people are still on unemployment. They don't know what to do. Their benefits are about to run out. They've exhausted their unemployment benefits, but yet
go back to work.
And that is my point, because you know what part of my job one of my jobs at work is to help recruit people into our company to try to get positions filled. It's one of the things that we do. And man, I am in about 25 groups on Facebook for just the Dallas County area, the Irving area, Arlington, and Grand Prairie areas. And man, I'm seeing every day, hey, we need warehouse workers paying $13, $15 an hour. We need third shift workers, paying $15, $16 an hour. We need, packers that you paying, $15 an hour. I'm seeing companies out, and I mean, it's not just like one or two companies. I'm seeing hundreds of posts a day begging people to come to work. We need workers. We need workers. We need workers. And then I read the story about all these people who can't find work. Are you kidding me? The jobs are there. You just don't want to take them.
Mm-hmm.
That's your problem.
Right. Because right now some people are legitimately saying, hey, I make more money staying home doing nothing. So what's my, why I'm not going to do that. And I get it. Some people have a legitimate concern about health issues, right? In certain jobs, it is a risk, but at the end of the day, we're still working. We're still getting out there. My wife is taking a risk every day. I'm taking a risk. My son is taking a risk. My other son's taking a risk. So, for those of us that feel like, hey, we got to get out there, we have to support ourselves. We have to find ways. Now, again, I please don't take this as a blanket statement, because I do understand there are plenty of people that have challenges, particularly people that have a very strong skill set in doing something. There may not be a plethora of jobs in that particular skill set, right? So I get it. And so sometimes you might have to compromise for a little bit till you kind of find how you're going to support yourself. But I think most people who recognize that, hey, I got to take my own well-being into my own hands. I got to get out there and I got to figure out how to go make the money so I can pay my rent, pay my bills, and put food in my belly and keep a shirt on my back, right? And there are a whole lot of people that are going out there and making those sacrifices and doing it and taking their own lives into their own hands, right? And going out there and making those sacrifices. And I think it's just, unfortunate that, like you said, with all those jobs that are out there, and then people don't want to work. Let's just be honest. Unfortunately, our culture in this society has created this part of our society that just doesn't want to work, man. They want something for nothing. And it's just, that's not how life works, man. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, out there, if y'all want a job, hit me up, man, on Facebook, because I guarantee you I can find you something.
What are you gonna say?
I thought he was gonna bring up the story that there was a rapper who was arrested by the FBI for frauding the EDD system.
Oh yeah,
and he rapped about it in his music video. I thought that's what he was going to say.
What sucks is that I know that there are people still hanging on to unemployment with the hope that the government's going to start throwing more money, like they did with the first stimulus package, to give them that extra $600 a week or extra $300 a week. So they're just hanging on to that hope that Congress is going to pass something so that they can get that second windfall.
And I also want to interject too. I am sympathetic to the fact that families have the additional constraint of working around your kids too, yep. Because not all kids are going back to school. For us personally, our daughter isn't. She's still commuting to school via computer. We're lucky. We're fortunate that we can provide that for her. We're thinking about it, but still, we have that choice. But there are a lot of families that don't have that choice, right? And so I do want to say that I am sympathetic to those people, because I clearly understand, right? It's hard to go out there and go to work when someone has to be home for the kids, because you certainly can't leave your children at home, particularly younger children at home by themselves. It's irresponsible. And so I totally get that. And I'm not trying to, again, my statement should be blanket statements, but I'm saying, what's that?
I said, just leave some bread and some peanut butter and jelly on the counter. They'd be okay.
Oh, well, we say all that to say, regardless,
go vote.
I guess, go vote.
Look, dude, here's the great news for those kids staying at home. Look, parents, take them out trick or treating for Halloween. Get all the candy, and then you can just leave them at home with the bucket of candy.
And speaking of Halloween, that's a good segue.
Or you could hide candy in the backyard like it's Easter.
Make them work for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
it'll be like Halloween, but
Yeah, Easter was canceled this year, so we're just gonna roll it all in.
Exactly.
Question, bro. I mean, historically, all my children are pretty much grown up for the most part. My daughter's she's at that age where she's kind of outgrown the trick-or-treating thing. But we were talking about it the other day. Are we going to try and hand out candy this year? And, it's something that I look forward to. We love Halloween in our household, as many people do. I like to decorate. My wife likes to decorate the house. I like to decorate. We like to put the black lights out there at night, or the dark lights, so that things glow on the porch. And, we put strobe lights out, and, we'd like to have some fun, and we do like handing out candy. But, are you guys going to plan to do it this year?
Well, what's funny is my wife works in the hair industry. Mm-hmm. She does hair for a living, and not to be stereotypical, but in the hair industry, there are a lot of gay men. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that Halloween is the gay high holy holiday. If you guys ever want to experience a scene, no, you think I'm joking? Go over there to Cedar Springs on Halloween night when they have that.
Yeah, they have a whole parade,
dude. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. That was like it was like gay Mardi Gras. I mean, it was like a parade. People were in costumes. People were throwing beads from balconies. It was awesome. But so Halloween is a big for us because Diana's got a lot of gay friends. She just does, and so she's real big in it. She's asking me like in August, hey, what are we gonna do for Halloween? I'm like, you understand it's August, right? It's the middle of the summer. I
in a
could
pandemic
care Halloween right now. She's real big into fast forwarding holidays because usually about this time of year she's asking me if she can put up the tree and can we get through Thanksgiving first before it's so bad. She was feeling bad the other day, so I took her to at home so she could go buy Christmas ornaments. And you know what sucks, man, is that last year we went to at home around Christmas time and all the Christmas stuff was sold out. Like,
well, that's because they started put. It's just as a quick side note. I want to get back to talking about Halloween, but just as a quick side note, it always seems to frustrate me that the Christmas displays go up literally the day of Halloween.
Yeah.
I mean, most retailers already start. I mean, it's even creeping in before that you can, when you would go shopping at Target, Walmart, wherever you want to go, that they would already have Christmas items for sale. They wouldn't necessarily have the full-blown Christmas displays.
I'm going to show you guys something.
They're getting set up. What's that? I don't know if
you can see it on the...
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to edit that part out because I already know.
They're like 30-foot tall nutcrackers and Santa Clauses.
Yeah.
I'm getting one next year, buddy.
Oh, my.
I get my house.
That's fine, but...
front yard. Well, because see, I like decorating for Christmas. So,
we do too. I mean,
balloon stuff up in my front yard anyway. So I'm gonna get one of those big 20-foot Santa Claus. No, I actually want the Nutcracker one. Actually,
right.
And put that up in my front yard. That's gonna be awesome. But Halloween,
sounds about right up your alley.
So yeah, I mean, I remember growing up. So is she gonna dress up this year or not and hang candy out?
We want to hand out candy. We're trying to figure out what's the right protocol to do it because obviously we want to be safe, but we want the kids that are trick or treating to be safe.
One of those long grabber hand things that you control from here and you pick it up and you can just give it to them like that. 6 foot, you got it. They still get their candy. But I remember growing up Halloween. We grew up in the country, so. There wasn't a whole lot of trick-or-treating going on.
No, not for us.
There would be years where we would, Mom would drive us into town and we would go do a little trick-or-treating. But we were never big trick-or-treaters ourselves.
No.
And I know, Roland, you have this story when Gabriel and Renee, we out at the ranch, they set up in Dad's pickup truck up there at the front gate, hoping trick-or-treaters would come by, but nobody would stop.
Well, let's kind of set the scene though for some of our viewers that don't know. So we live out like in the boonies type part of Wilmer, and so growing up, we still lived out there when there was there were a few houses, but it was mainly still a lot of farmland. There were still a few fields that had cattle. It was before all the current development. And we certainly didn't have street lights on our stretch. I mean, the street lights really didn't start till you almost got to Lancaster. So it was always dark. Well, our brothers, because they weren't going to go out trick-or-treating, they thought it'd be a great idea to go sit at the front gate and see if they could get anybody to stop and trick-or-treat us. So they went and parked, which... Of course, they took Dad's pickup truck, which was a black pickup truck, right? He had that real nice Chevy. You remember the Boss?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they took that and they parked it right up there by the gate. Now they did have flashlights. They had a little. Back then, we didn't have Bluetooth music, so they had a cassette player, a boombox, right? Playing some music, and they were just hanging out, hoping they could get anybody to stop. And there were cars that would come down Some of them would slow down. They kind of thought, man, this is kind of spooky. This is creepy. This might be a setup, and they just take off. They could get no one to stop. And they had I mean, do you remember it was almost like a damn punch bowl size bowl of candy. And of course, they probably ate.
Yeah, they ate more than away, dude.
No, that's not true because I don't know if you remember. We had taken the kids into town to go trick or treat, and we came back and we'd asked them. I said, "Hey, how many people stop?" And they were like, "Nobody will stop." He said, "We have plenty of people slow down, kind of look at us, and they just keep going. Nobody would stop." So it was getting pretty close to the end of the night, and we were telling them, "Hey, might as well just go home. You're not going to get anybody to stop. You're out here you're in the boonies. It's dark. You're in a black pickup truck. You're a couple of, people don't know. They don't trust." So just as we're getting ready to head back home, one car full of kids, though. I mean, it was a couple of parents and probably about 4 or 5 kids stopped and trick-or-treated. And I remember Gabriel walked up. I think it was Gabriel. He took that bowl, which was probably still about 3/4 full, and he just dumped it all in the car and said, "Here you go. You get it all. You're the only one that stopped," and dumped it all in their car. And those kids were just, they were in heaven. I mean,
the parents probably hated them.
Doing.
And that one was a real funny one, just because we knew they weren't going to get anybody stopped, and but one car did.
I always thought as a kid it would have been cool to like build a haunted house out at the ranch.
We did one year.
Before Uncle Matt's house was finished, we built a haunted house in there.
Wait, I'm trying to think. Was RJ not born then? I don't think.
No, so. I remember his house being built.
Well, so Uncle Matt's house they had started building, so the structure was there, but they only had the roof and they had the walls. They really didn't do any interior finish.
Nope.
And unfortunately, our grandpa, mm-hmm. He got sick and he passed away before the house was finished, so it sat unfinished for a while. So one year we kind of, as a family, all thought, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool to do a haunted house?" And Uncle Matt said, "Yeah, go ahead." So we went and they didn't have electricity there. They didn't have no lights. But we had didn't we have a generator? I'm trying to remember how we got power.
I ran extension cords because
I was going to say,
right there by where Uncle Matt's house was.
That's right. That's right. We sure did.
House, that power pole.
That's right. We sure did. So we put in strobe lights. We put in dark lights. We spray painted the walls with all kinds of, creepy, spooky, sayings. And the one thing we did was because where the rafters were, when you came down this hallway, they had put some of the sheetrock up, but it was still pretty much exposed. And we ran a pulley up there.
Yeah.
And we had the skeleton that dropped down, right? And you could stand in one of the back rooms, and we had it on a rope. And as the kids were coming around, we dropped the skeleton right on top of them. That was fun. I mean, we really had a good time doing that.
So RJ, growing up, I mean, I don't know how old you were before you stopped dressing up for Halloween. But do you remember any of your Halloween costumes? Which one was your favorite?
Pikachu.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually going to say that one, man. That's probably the most memorable. I know at the time I think I was a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
The day of, even though I picked it. But that one's one of the most memorable. I mean, that actually might have been my last like full costume.
I don't know, son. I mean because you were still pretty young when we had you over at Immaculate.
Wasn't that? You sure? I thought that Pikachu was at St. E.
No, it was at Immaculate. You were still at
Wow.
Immaculate when we had that one. But so in essence, it was a full bodysuit type. It was a jumper. It was like a onesie,
Yeah.
and the headpiece actually had, you stuck your face in it, and the Pikachu head was sat on top. And because RJ's been in private school his entire life.
I'm digging those pictures up, buddy.
What?
I said I'm digging those pictures up.
Yeah, we got to find them. But
no,
there's one on the Now That You Mention It webpage, the Now That You Mention It Facebook page.
So we were at
the whole page down
because we went to all these. We would go to all the fall carnivals at the through the church schools, and that one in particular, I remember we had gone to the carnival and we sat down to eat. We had gotten, and there was RJ. I brag a little bit. My son's good looking, and so he had a lot of girls that were kind of following him around. And I remember he sat down to eat with us, and there was like 3 or 4 of them that came up right behind him, and they go, "Hi, RJ." And I swear to God, RJ's face just turned so red, and he was so embarrassed. It was funny. I mean, I'll never forget that. That was a pretty funny one.
RJ, you grew up in the golden age of costumes for kids, man. Because when we were growing up, our costumes were, man,
cheap ass plastic masks.
Cheap vinyl coverings, and just a face mask like this of a character with a little rubber band string around the back that covered it.
Oh my god!
But the great thing was they could make those faces look like anybody. You could have Richie Rich's face. You could have Dracula's, but it was just a face cover.
Casper was a good one.
Yeah,
I remember my last costume now.
What was it?
I was Scream. Remember, I had the mask that had the pump, that had the blood. That was my last like full, because I wore like the whole black
that's right
robe with the mask. I remember now. So that'd probably be my favorite, especially because now, like, when Halloween comes around, I'm big into horror movies and even to some extent haunted houses.
You know what was funny, bro, is unfortunately back then, costumes for kids weren't really kind of custom tailored to size. It was a one size fit all.
Yeah.
Oh my
God. I remember one year, and I mean, hell, I'm a big guy. I don't make no bones about it. And so I was even pudgy then. And I remember one year we had one of those cheap plastic vinyl costumes, and I had the mask on, and I'm sitting there trying to put it on, right? And remember, it had like the little twist ties, or the little ties that you used to tie in the back. Mm-hmm. And I remember I dropped my bucket and I bent over to pick it up, and the damn thing split.
Oh my gosh,
dude! I'm telling you, man, costumes back then used to be cheap.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I remember there was a time when the big innovation, RJ, in Halloween costumes was when they were being touted as flame retardant.
that was the selling point.
That was the selling point. Hey, this costume is flame retardant. You're not gonna catch.
Yeah, you keep on catch on fire.
What a time to be alive, as they would say.
Oh my God, man.
Well, Halloween's fast approaching, so it'll be interesting to see what people do. Because the one question I was going to say I'm kind of curious to see is, obviously in the middle of a pandemic, how people are going to identify their houses giving out candy. Because normally you would just walk up to a house and assume they were probably giving out candy, and if not, just walk to the next one. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
The universal sign for not giving away candy used to be turning your porch light out.
Mm-hmm.
Put your porch light out. Oh, they don't have any candy over there.
But surprisingly, even some years we would turn it. We would turn out the lights early, and people would still come trick or treating anyway.
Yeah,
they still come.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, anyway, but
it'll be interesting to see.
Here's one interesting thing in the era of COVID. So the other night, our daughter, for her birthday, wanted to go to a haunted house. So we decided we were going to do one of those drive-through haunted houses that's kind of the social distancing responsible way right now.
Yeah.
But all the popular ones were kind of sold out, so we wound up going to the one that they did over at the American Airlines Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was fun, I guess. It got out of the house.
Yeah.
It wasn't really spooky because obviously the people that are dressed up and trying to scare you, they're not really trying to get up in your space. You know, they're not going to make any physical contact with you, and so you're kind of driving through. And the other thing,
the ultimate
huh?
scare tactic.
Huh?
You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait till people get like within 2 feet of me, and then just take my mask.
One.
No, I'm just gonna take my mask. That's gonna be it. I got you.
Man, come on. You know that was a good one. Come on.
Oh my God. Man. So anyway, the other thing that it turns out is it's not quite as fun when you can't turn off all your car lights.
Yeah.
Most of these cars today are designed with safety running lights, right? Mm-hmm. That you just can't turn off. And I have one of those cars. I mean, we spent probably 10 minutes trying to figure out how to shut off. I mean, you could turn off the main headlights, but these safety lights stay on. And so it still gives you some illumination. And so you can't really get it dark to kind of be spooked out.
Yeah.
Right? Because your lights are on. So, that kind of took away from the, I think from the experience. Again, I will say that at the very end of that, we did get a jump because he
didn't get his car jumped.
No. What happened was one of the characters that was actually a part of the crew that spooks you was dressed up and kind of hunched over, and it looked like a mannequin. I mean, it was so realistic looking. And so, as you're driving by it, all of a sudden jumped up and said, "Yeah!" And I know my daughter screamed, RJ's girlfriend screamed. It kind of gave me a start because I wasn't really expecting it. So that was probably the fun part. But all in all, COVID sucks, man. I mean, it's taking the fun.
When we get over this, RJ, and as your sister gets older, you need to take her on the haunted hayride at Reindeer Manor, down in Red Oak, and take her over there. I believe it's in Red Oak. There's a house that looks like the Munsters house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that or not, Ro, but there's a house out there. They built it so
Waxahachie. I can't remember.
Maybe Waxahachie, where it's a house that looks like the Munsters from the show, and then you got to take her out by the old cemetery in Lancaster, dude, where the Spider Woman is.
The Spider Woman.
Yeah, I remember that year we took Jay out there and he started crying. I mean, I felt bad for him.
Oh my God!
Propaganda. There's an old tale, RJ, about the Spider Woman of Lancaster Cemetery. Mm-hmm. That on Halloween she's got her hands out like this or out like this. And Halloween she's supposed to have like tarantula is just crawling all over her hands. But it only happens at Halloween. It doesn't happen like other nights.
Really interesting.
Check it out.
Well, I've been
a cemetery.
I've been to Reindeer Manor. It's fun. I like it. So, yeah, maybe when she gets older, I'll take her. Well, yeah I definitely will. But, have fun doing this with y'all. Just want to thank all of our listeners for taking some time to lock in with the Now That You Mention It podcast. The three of us know that time is everyone's most valuable asset. And so we value all of you giving us a piece of your time. We enjoy doing this, the three of us together, and whether it's only 5 people or only 5 or 5 million, we appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to us and try to sound smart.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Before you sign off there, I want to throw this idea out there, something for us and our guests to be thinking about. In upcoming episodes, what I'd like to do is throw out the Rank Your Favorite Challenge. And the Rank Your Favorite Challenge is we're basically going to allow our viewers to kind of make some suggestions. Rank your favorite car, rank your favorite sports team, rank your favorite whatever. We kind of did it with the movies when we each voluntarily kind of offered up our favorite, our top 5 movies. So, I'd like for us to see, kind of take the pulse of viewership and see what they would like for us to rank. And maybe on a future episode, we dedicate that to where the 3 of us rank our favorite non-alcoholic beverage.
No, dude, I want to do our top 5 donuts because I have hot sports opinions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I have very hot
top 5 pizzas or, whatever. But I just want to throw that out there. Sorry to interrupt, RJ. Take us home.
No, you're fine. Well, once we wrap up, I got an idea to take that. But and so with that being said, I know we got a little off track there, but we'd like to ask for just a few more seconds of your time so that we can ask for you to give us feedback. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Podbean, please follow, turn on notifications, and leave us a rating and review if you don't mind. If you're dialed in visually via YouTube, please like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications so that anytime we drop a new episode, you get notified first and can be one of our first viewers. Go find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit by typing in the Now That You Mention It podcast and hitting the follow button. And we will also be trying to get on the Podcast Magazine's Hot 50 podcasts for right now. It's going to be for the month of December. I'll drop that link in the description for this week. And so with all that being said, enjoy the rest of the day. And with 1 week coming to a close and a new one beginning, we want to encourage you to make it another chapter of your book. And thank you to Jesse P, because we couldn't do it without you.
Amen.
Good night, everyone.
Night, boys.
Go Rays.